It will be available online to everybody in a couple weeks, and I'll send the link out to everybody. But it's always good to see you. Thank you for being here today, Tamara.
Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate that introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. We only have 45 minutes, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm having connection issues, so I'm just going to turn my camera off. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
And while you do that, I'm just putting a note in the chat saying if you have any questions for Tamara, please put them in chat during her presentation and address them to everyone. And then I'll ask her as many questions as possible. And once she's done, she'll jump into chat for a few minutes to pick up where we left off. And please note that she's actually going to be back. She's our first employer of the day, and she's going to be talking about employment opportunities at FAA at 12 after our break. Okay, thank you.
All righty. Okay, so today we're just going to go, and I know I only have 45 minutes, so I will try not to go too fast, but I do want to make sure that I give you as much possible information when you are applying for federal positions. As you know, all of our positions are posted on usajobs.gov. We do have special hiring authority for various positions. And when I say special hiring authority, we can hire without the job being posted on USA Jobs. And usually that's a little hard to know unless you contact me or our other senior recruiter to say, I'm a person with disability, or I'm a veteran with disability, or I'm looking for an IT position, or I'm an engineer, which are some of the hiring authorities that we do have. So let's jump into a couple of mistakes that I often see when folks are going into USA Jobs. One, when you are in USA Jobs, please only put the state. Do not put the city and state, because if you put the city, there could be an office that could be 30 minutes away in another town. So I always tell someone, please just put the state so that you can see what is all available, because you will be surprised at some of the small offices that are right outside of larger cities. So for instance, we have an office it's called Tamara, Florida. And it's close to Miami. But if you put Miami, you're not going to reach Tamarack. So again, being able to just put in the state is what will be helpful. Also here, one of the job announcements that have an array of duties is a management and program analyst. So a management program analyst could have IT listed, could have administrative, financial, HR, communications. So always, unless you are really, really, I want to say degree specific, like IT, and IT has always been your field, then definitely look for that. But if you're like me and have an array of skill sets, management and program analyst is definitely what you want to look at. They also have supervisory management and program analysts as well. The other thing on here is the hiring path. This is usually where we have issues with folks identifying what they are looking for. Some may not even select hiring path, and then they will end up, if you see over here, internal to the agency, they'll see a position and they'll want to apply for that position, but not focusing on any of the icons. And then when they say, oh, Tamara, I applied for this job, why didn't I get selected? And then when I ask them to send me the URL, and that's the first thing I end up noticing is the hiring path is not applicable to them. So you want to make sure if you do not have government service, it's open to the public. If you have previous government service, then you can select competitive service or accepted service. If you are a veteran, then you want to select veteran. All right, so again, here is how you will notice your icons. If you see on the right, I have highlighted open to the public, someone who's a veteran and persons with disability. And if you notice the icons here, all of the icons here kind of tell you what category you should be able to fill or apply for. All right. So one of the most important things on the job vacancy announcement is qualifications, the specialized experience. So when you are writing your resume, the duties are great. And yes, you do have to utilize them, but the specialized experience under qualification tells you exactly what they are looking for. And this is just an example of a previous position. These are the specialized experiences these are the specialized experiences that you should be focusing on tweaking your resume. Each position, you have to tweak your resume based on the specialized experience. Also, ever wonder why your resume is not referred? The position you apply for is very similar to a previous position. All of the duties and responsibilities are duties you have done before. So these are the three most asked questions or statements that I receive from someone who has applied. And 9 times out of 10, it is usually their resume. I've had somebody who had a 10-page resume. That was overkill. So, sometimes it can be way too much, and then sometimes, majority of the times, it is not enough. When you are, like I said, you need 2 resumes, one for private sector, one for federal government. And you have to customize your resume to fit each position, and you will probably hear me say that 100 times. Be um, be specific in your detail, provide a lot of detail, and use concise language when you're doing that. And if you are military or had military prior experience or even work with DOD, Department of Defense, sometimes their language and lingo, it's almost like another foreign language almost sometimes. So you make sure your resume is really in plain English and all acronyms are spelled out. Using headings to guide your reader. Remember that non-paid experience is still experience for the federal government. So volunteering experience, educational experience, and obviously your professional experience. When I say educational experience, some of us are, just going to school to get different certifications. And so if you haven't worked in, say, 2 or 3 years and you've been going to school, your education experience actually would be, and you can either say educational experience or education projects or just projects. But that's what would go under that educational experience. Of course, you have education, which would have your degrees or any certifications that you may have, you put under education, but your education experience are the projects of the courses that you have recently taken. So if you've taken a course in project management and you had to do a project in the class and it's very similar to the job you are applying for, you would want to put that under, again, projects or education projects. And you want to state that in that as well. Volunteer experience. You want to put that. So if you are applying for an IT job, but you also work in the um, lights and sound ministry of your church, or you volunteer with an organization, say an arts center, and you are actually you're at an art center and you're actually working again in lighting and sound and things of that nature. You want to put that down, and in that volunteer experience, like, the name, if there is a title, put that, the organization, and then you put down description, just like it is for a job, as well as the hours that you are working. So if you are working, 4 hours every week, you can just put 16 hours a month, or 20 hours a month, if you do it during the week as well. So you want to put that down there because, again, the non-paid experience is also experience that is counted when they are reviewing your resume. Using past tense action verbs for past experiences. I've seen a lot of resumes where their past position sounded as if they are still currently doing that. Also using action verbs when you're writing your current or updating your current position: created, developed, enhanced, improved, um, improved, things of that nature. You want to make sure that you add. Using percentages and years for experience, where you can. So I provided an example so that you can actually see where you can actually see what I was referring. So during my tenure as budget assistant, I helped reduce supply waste and save the company 30%, 30% from last year's budget. And so you want to make sure adding those type of things, kind of shows what you did and shows a result on your resume so that someone can say, oh, okay, so they actually know how to see where things are going wrong, or they need to, or they can enhance and, enhance the development or enhance the program, or make it more efficient. So those are good things to add. Again, percentages and years of experience. Some of the do nots. So do not state the duties as, or just cut and paste your position description. In your why a government resume can be up to 4 pages, is we want to see detail. We want to tell the employer how well you did, and again, with adding accomplishments to it. Again, do not just cut and paste a job description, because most of the time, between myself, any recruiter, or any HR specialist will be able to tell that you cut and paste your resume, but it's not really saying what you do or how you do that. And again, I mentioned acronyms before because this is a huge issue. If you use an acronym, please make sure that you spell it out. Just showing you here, when you are doing your federal government resume, there's a few things that is different from a private sector. Adding the month to year to either month and year or the present, and the hours worked per week. Also adding the supervisor name and number, and they may be contacted or may not. You can put may not be contacted and in parentheses said, please ask first. That is not a red flag anymore. It used to be. It is not. It could be simply, this was your supervisor, but they are actually no longer at that company, or he or she is no longer in that position. And so you may want to just brief them about that supervisor. Again, the resume, federal government resumes can be 2 to 4 pages. Usually no longer than 4. And you only go back 10 years. And my most asked question is, oh my gosh, I have way more experience. Great, all of us do. However, go back 10 years and remember I said making headers, which is easy for managers. You can make another header that says other work experience and say the job you had is very similar to the job you are applying for, but it was actually 15 years ago. Under other work experience, you would list that position, right? The time frame, the hours worked, and you would list that position out. So any position that is past 10 years that is relevant to the position you're applying for, that's what you put down under other work experience. And you only need to list about 2 of those positions if they're more than 10 years prior. Okay, so I took this so that we can go over just a little bit. This is just a basic job description for an administrative assistant. But I want you all to see how utilizing enhancing your resume, how we should go about doing that. So here are some of the duties: scheduling appointments, receiving receives and file correspondence, proofreads, greets and receive visitors, right? So I actually took this from someone's resume that I worked with, and this is how we enhanced. In the red, it says answered all incoming telephone calls, responded to questions, comments, etc. Again, this was actually one of their bullets. However, the position that they were applying for was the one I just showed you, which again, when I say we need to add more meat and potatoes to your resume, this is going into what I'm getting ready to talk about. This is how you expand upon it. We want to know, we're nosy, right? So it's federal government, so it's not, it's a no secret. So we do see that you have done exactly what we are looking for, right? So this is, again, where private sector is a little bit different from us. We want to see exactly what you have done. Never use etc. A manager is not going to guess what you did, nor does that show what you truly did. So she had 2. After speaking to her, I only used 2 that was on her resume. One is volunteer and the other one she was paid. So I just want to show you the detail. So as a reservation assistant, I'm responsible for answering a 6-line phone system. During these phone calls, I maintain professionalism in responding to customers, provide extensive assistance as needed. I route all messages to the appropriate personnel via email. So that addresses her answering all incoming calls, again, and responding to questions. Then she had a volunteer experience as a Virginia State University State Ambassador. I served for 2 years. I developed relationships with prospective students by phone, mail, email, text, social media, and with personal visits. Purpose of these contacts are to gather student information, answer questions, assist them to enroll at, sorry, misspelling, VSU, and help them get to know what VSU has to offer. I help staff with student recruitment and orientation office for 5 hours each week, assisting with receptionists, phones, mailings, meeting with students and parents, and other duties as assigned. So here you see, we really elaborated because all she had was she was a student ambassador at VSU. And here, after speaking to her, I asked, well, what is it that you actually do? Tell me when you go in and you sit down, what is it that you actually do? So this is what we came up, minus the typos, sorry. So this is what we came up with. And again, this is how you expand upon your resume when you are adding these details. And so say, for instance, you've been a caregiver for, the last 4 years. You are a transportation coordinator, you are a budget assistant, literally you are a medical assistant. So those are different things that you can put down. Transportation coordinator, why? Or you're thinking like transportation coordinator, what? How can I say that as a caregiver? You're assuring that the person you're caring for gets to and from the doctor. You're also assisting them, in emergencies, that transportation is, provided there. Or you could be a stay-at-home parent, or grandparent, and you're a stay-at-home grandparent, and you're coordinating transportation, to and from school, to and from events, assuring, the students are safe. So you just have to kind of think out the box a little bit. On some of our everyday duties actually have a lot of daily work-related experience. So again, this is how we are expanding upon our resume. And we are utilizing the STAR system. And the STAR system can actually be used for two things, your resume as well as interviews. You want to talk about the situation, task, action, and the result. The situation, describe the role, position in the company. Task, think of a time when you have to show your qualities by completing a specific task. The action or activity, what did you do to achieve the task? Did you walk off your own initiative? Result, what was the outcome of your actions? How did they contribute to the success? Okay, then we have CCAR. CCAR is what we say, content, challenge, action, result, or challenge and content. The challenge, describe the challenges you faced. What did you have to fix or launch? Content, describe the circumstance of the situation, kind of the timeline, story, horizon. Action, describe the actions you took to create the action. Describe the high-level actions. Results, describe the results, quantify, qualify the results, use numbers, percentages. CCAR, I definitely will say apply if you're applying for a managerial role or a higher level role, is definitely using CCAR. CCAR can actually be used on any resume, but I definitely say utilizing that this form as well. There's one more that that we can use, and that is called PAR, and that is problem, action, and results. And so I want to make sure that is the wrong LinkedIn. So I do apologize. I pulled up the wrong PowerPoint. So you can definitely contact me. I will stop sharing my screen so that we can make sure that I have enough time to answer questions. All right. And do we want to go to the first question? I
Tamara,
don't
can you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Okay.
There we
Yep,
go.
I hear you now. Yep.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I have 10 questions first, 10 plus questions for you. So let me get started with the first question. Is this person would like to know whether federal recruiters ever recognize SES relevant skills and abilities that are manifested in a private sector career. She's been shut out, or this person has been shut out for years. It takes a lot of work answering the questions, and frankly, with the wrong content, it seems like SES jobs are completely closed.
So that is a very good question. So there is a guide, and I'm about to put the link for that in the um in the chat. So
Okay.
this is an SES guide that is used to help answer um your SES private sector. And SES is Senior Executive Service, for those who don't know. So those who can have executive positions in the private sector, they are recognized for the federal government. However, it is, again, it's how you are writing your resume. Also, um, don't get discouraged. And I know this is easier said than done, but understand I'm in the government. I've applied for several jobs and still like nothing. And have made the certification list. So a lot of times, either budget cuts usually is the biggest one where they have not made decisions. The second one is because there's actually someone in the agency that has done the position, or is doing the position at a lower level, and now they are looking to go into the executive. And so each agency always wants to make sure that they do hire within. That is something that those numbers do have to be turned into our parent agency, Department of Transportation. So using that guide that I just provided, that is a huge help in answering those executive questions that you are looking for. And so it's a lot of writing. It is a lot that goes into it, but being able to utilize that guide will actually help you.
Great. And the next question is, are there other job titles you recommend looking at besides management and program analysts where the duties, qualifications vary?
So program specialist, those who want manager position, program manager. But again, majority of the agencies go with management and program analysts. But again, program specialist, project specialist, I'm sorry, project manager, program specialist, and oh my God, I just drew a blank that quick.
That's okay. I'll ask you another question while it comes to you.
Okay.
When deciding who may apply for a job, would the previous government service include a contractor at a government agency? Good question.
No, so if you've ever been a government contractor, you are just that. It does not, that is not government service. Having prior government experience is if you've actually been hired it could be temporary, part-time, or temporary full-time, or permanent full-time government employee. So contractors are just that, they are contractors, so you don't get anything.
Thank you. And are there part-time positions in the federal government?
Yes, there are. And I think there is a way on USA Jobs for you to look at that. Also for those who are interested, in the location, where I showed you to put your state, instead of putting a state, if you're looking for remote positions, just type in remote in the location.
All right. And then the next question is it good to show the number for people, team members I led?
Oh, yes, definitely. So, if you are applying for a manager or supervisory role, definitely put that in there, you managed a team of 10 or you managed a team of 7. So that is definitely something you want to add to your resume.
Okay, and then one person asked, going back to the working history on gov.website, is it requires for all last 25 years or just last 10 years?
So the last 10 years, but if you have information, if you have a position that is relevant to that job,
It does, yeah.
then put a heading called other work experience, and then put that particular job that's relevant to that position.
Okay. And then what steps should I take to join a federal job as an apprenticeship for someone who wants to change careers, please? Thank you.
So under hiring path, if you are in school or you just finished school within the last 2 years, there is an icon. One, if you're in school for students, and there's no age limit on being a student, nor recently graduate. Um, you select that under the hiring path. However, if it's been more than 2 years that you have, been in school and switching, then um, you're gonna have to look for entry-level positions under that specific. Not a lot of government agencies anymore have co-ops. Department of Defense may, but they usually use what is called pathways, which is the key word you would look for on USA Jobs. And those are kind of co-op or internship or apprenticeship positions.
Okay,
Otherwise, you would look for entry level, and that would be GS5 through GS7.
great. And that's interesting. How long if you work in federal state government till you get lifetime benefits important at our age? I'm in my 50s.
Right. So I don't know about state. That's a whole separate thing, but federal government, for SES, which is our senior executive positions, you have to work at least 10 years. And I want to say 55 is the age limit. I'm sorry, is the age. So say for instance, you're 45 and you have to work 10 years, so it'll be 55 is the age requirement. So if you're 55 and you get in the government, it'll have to be until 65 for senior executive. However, if you get in the government, um, after the age of 50, it's still 30 years. However, there are a couple of special parameters, I think, around that. I don't really know the details as much for, coming in, after the age of 50, but you'll definitely have the age, but not the years. So there is a as long as you invest 3 years of government service, then you'll be vested to be able to get that um,
Benefit.
annuity for
Cool.
service.
That's great. Then the next question is, thanks for the wonderful, insightful presentation. I would like to know if federal positions are open to non-citizens such as people with permanent resident permits. Thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, most government agencies, you do have to be a US citizen. It will tell you that under the requirements, majority of the time it is. However, some of the jobs that you can have permanent residency is usually under Department of State.
Right. Okay, thank you. The next question is, I have already applied for a couple of positions on USA Jobs recently. Will you be able to look at my resume if I send you the my information and job number? Also, years ago, I did work for government per contracted company. Does this count as working for government indirectly? Which you,
Right. So I'll start with the second one. So I did answer that.
yeah.
Being a contractor is just that, whether it's at a government agency or not. No, that would not count. I could look at your resume, but sending me the number is not going to help. I'm a senior recruiter. I am not an HR specialist, so I can't go in the system and pull your resume at all. Also, I do want to say, please, unless you are just interested on the USA jobs under FAA, it's public notices. Our public notices are resume repositories. They are not actual vacancy announcements. I get this all the time. I applied for a job and I haven't heard anything. I actually got a call from a congressman's assistant or an email because a citizen said that they are not getting a response from FAA.
Oh,
And so they happened to reach out to me. I don't know how, but anyway, they reached out to me. And when she gave me the vacancy announcement number, I said, well, they have to read, it says public notice. It is not a vacancy announcement. They have to bypass the public notice to get to the actual vacancy, which you'll see actual job titles.
mm,
So if you go back and you see that you have applied and it is to a public notice, this is the reason that you will not hear anything. Public notices, our managers pull resumes when they need someone specifically for that, and they do it by state.
gotcha. Wow. Okay. The next question is, I have received emails that I was referred to hiring manager, but I have not received any contact or any steps. Is there anything I should do?
Yeah, me too. Um, you can reach out to the HR specialist on the vacancy announcement to just ask what the status is, and ask them if they are aware if they're interviewing or not. You can also ask, sometimes a manager will say, oh, give me the top 10 people. And you could be, number 10, number 12. So you were referred to the manager or you made the list, but he may just only want to look at the top 10. And
Gotcha.
so, that can be another issue. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm waiting to hear from a couple of positions that I applied
Oh,
for earlier this year. So
all right. And the next question is, good luck, by the way. I have a question. My background experience has been focused on budget analyst, grant management, strategy planning, financial management. I've worked for international and nonprofit organizations. However, I wanted to work for federal government. What advice would you have for me to help navigate my job search? Wow.
oh gosh. So again, management program analysts, because there are sometimes a lot of those where they are looking for folks with financial background. Financial analyst is a title, budget analyst is a title, um, project, I'm sorry, program analyst just by itself, not the management end, but just program analyst. Most of the time, a program analyst has a lot of financial background to it.
Mm.
Project manager or project specialist um, will also have. So there's a lot of titles to actually look at. So I can't really say really narrow down to like only two. But again, program analyst, financial analyst, budget analyst, sound like the three positions that, you know, you want to start with. And then I would go into the management program analyst.
Great. And how can a recent MS healthcare admin grad with BS in business stand out for the entry level FG 7-15 public notice for program analysts direct hire in parentheses,
Right. So again, the public notice,
which you talked about?
yeah. So those are not vacancies. So please look beyond that. And if health and business is your background, you want to look at Department of Health and Human Services. That is an agency that you definitely would like to look at for those particular jobs.
That's great. Um, can it be a disadvantage to apply as a Schedule A person with a disability? For example, might the hiring manager disregard someone due to a concern about ability to do the job?
So I will say this, a lot of managers may pass over resumes for a whole lot of reasons. Um, and no, so Schedule A is not supposed to. However, again, we can't stop,
Right.
someone's train of thought or, their mindset. However, Schedule A does have an advantage. So for instance, since I'm on here, I'm gonna put this nice plug out here before my 12 o'clock. Um, we are looking for someone who does have a Schedule A or a 30% disabled veteran for a realty specialist. So that's what we are looking for, someone who has real estate experience. So there are jobs that are out there that we do start looking for Schedule A candidates, which is persons with disability. And that does include 30% or more disabled veterans. So it could be biased either way. I have worked with managers who literally get nervous from looking at applications with Schedule A candidates. And then I usually have to tell them, I was like, I got Schedule A, would you have, do you not want to work with me now? And then so now everyone is just stuck when I say that, right? And then when I
Right.
mention a coworker who is Schedule A because he's in a wheelchair and people can't see it on camera, they're like, he's what? You know,
Mm,
so again, we can't necessarily control that, but Schedule A does have its advantages of getting you in the door quicker because they do not have to post it on USA Jobs. You would go to OPM website and look for the Selective Placement Program Coordinator, which I think I have in my title
right.
above me.
That's great. Now it's 11:46 and we have to take a break for everybody who's been with us all morning. And we've had about 165 people with us all morning. So everybody needs to sort of get up and stretch. However, there were still several questions that we did not get to. And my question is, you also need a break because you're scheduled to talk today here from 12 to 12:20. And I just want to reconfirm that's still on because I know you've been traveling, so we're good. And yes, okay. So I will send you in the chat the time that we left off at. But however, may people send you their questions in an email if you're unable to get to them?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, please
Okay,
do. And just in your email, remind me that, we were here, or hey, Tamara, this is from JCA, Expo. Because I get questions every day, all day. I do try to be mindful and courteous and respond to emails, but sometimes I get pulled away on projects. So, I just want to
gotcha.
remember,
Okay, that's great. And we did leave off at around 11:35.